The next item on the agenda is an update on the incident involving 4 uranium hexafluoride cylinders at the port of Halifax. I understand that we have a representative from RSB Logistic joining us via video conferencing for this item. And I understand Mr. Eckel will be connected with us. Mr. Eckel, can you hear us?
Yes, it's George Eckel for the record. I can hear you well.
Okay, thank you. I understand that Mr. Andre Regenbold will make the presentation from CNSC staff as outlined in CMD 14M19. Monsieur Regenbold, vous avez la parole.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Rebonjour, Mesdames et Messieurs, membres de la Commission. I will do the introduction in French, and then I will continue the presentation in English. Alors, au fin du registre, je m'appelle André Regimbald, je suis le directeur général responsable de la réglementation des substances nucléaires. Je vous présente mes collègues, Monsieur Sylvain Faille, directeur de la division des autorisations de transport et du soutien stratégique, et Monsieur Martin Thériault, agent de transport dans la division de M. Faille. J'aimerais ajouter que M. Thériault est aussi un inspecteur. D'autres membres du personnel de la CCSN sont présents dans la salle et peuvent répondre aux questions au besoin. On March 13, 2014, at approximately 10:15 p.m., the CNSC received a call from Transport Canada's Emergency Call Centre, or CANUTEC, that there had been an incident at the port of Halifax involving a shipment of uranium hexafluoride, or UF6. The incident occurred at around 9 o'clock that evening when a flat rack carrying 4 cylinders filled with UF6 were being offloaded from a sea vessel that was accidentally dropped. I'm sorry, not the sea vessel, but the rack was accidentally dropped back aboard the vessel from a height of approximately 7 meters. The shipment consisted of 4 cylinders containing UF6, which is a fissile material since it is composed of low-enriched uranium at a quantity not exceeding 5% uranium-235 enrichment. And please note that this is not weapons-grade material, as was initially reported in the media. The UF6 inside the cylinders is in solid form and maintained under negative pressure. Each cylinder is approximately 2 meters long by 80 centimeters in diameter and can hold up to 2,277 kilograms of UF6. The material originated from Chester, England, and was destined to the Westinghouse fuel fabrication facility in South Carolina, United States, to produce fuel for use in light water commercial reactors. Under the CNSC packaging and transport of nuclear substance regulations, which align with the international transport regulations established by the International Atomic Energy Agency, this type of shipment requires the use of certified packages as well as a CNSC license to transport while in transit. The transport while in transit is defined as a shipment being transported through Canada in a situation where the place of loading and the final destination are outside Canada. This license, as with any other transport license, is issued by the CNSC designated officer. The package containing the UF6 cylinders is also certified by the CNSC designated officer as meeting the requirements specified in the PTNS regulations and the international IAEA transport regulations after a thorough technical assessment performed by professional engineers at the CNSC. When preparing the shipment for transport, each cylinder is inserted inside an overpack. In this case, it is a model UX30 overpack, which consists of a stainless steel casing filled with polyurethane foam, which serves as a thermal blanket for the UF6 and protects the cylinder from shocks during transport. The package is therefore comprised of the cylinder and the overpack and was certified by the CNSC designated officer on June 23, 2011 as an endorsement of the U.S. Department of Transport certificate issued under a similar process and used worldwide. On the next slide, and please, I apologize, I should have indicated before the presentation that you have 2 copies of slide 6 in your deck. The slide 6 and the slide 7 is going to be a new slide, and I'll explain later. Also, I should have mentioned that, I'm sorry, slide 20 has a better photograph that will illustrate the object of the slide. So resuming, we're on slide 6 now. The company responsible for the shipment involved in the incident is RSB Logistic, Inc. It is a transport company located in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, that offers a wide range of transport services, including freight forwarding services, and was licensed by the CNSC for this shipment. The CNSC designated officer issued the transport license to RSB Logistic on February 19, 2014, with an expiry date of May 31, 2014. During transport, the packages were tightly secured to a metal flat rack, which consists of a platform with 2 ends that is used for ease of transport. A total of 4 UF6 packages were attached to the flat rack for a total weight of 18,000 kilograms. The total weight consisted of the 4 cylinders, their overpacks, and the flat rack. This slide shows the vessel, the Atlantic Companion. At the time of the incident, the vessel was docked at the port of Halifax and was being offloaded. This slide shows the crane being used to offload the packages, which is a 1982 Pacico ship-to-shore crane with a 40 metric ton capacity, or 40,000 kilograms. The next series of slides will show how the incident happened. So this first slide shows a schematic view of the crane lifting bridge getting into position to lift the flat rack with the UF6 packages. The lifting is done by anchoring 4 attachment points underneath the lifting bridge to each of the corresponding 4 attachment points on the top of the flat rack. I will show some pictures later on to show you exactly how the anchoring is done. Before lifting starts, the crane operator has to secure the attachment points into their anchored position so that the flat rack can be lifted properly. Then the lifting started, but what happened is that two of the lifting points on one side of the flat rack had not been properly anchored. So all of the 18,000 kilograms of weight was being supported by only one side of the flat rack. Due to this tremendous weight supported by only one side of the flat rack, that side eventually sheared off from the flat rack as the flat rack swung downward in a pendulum motion to the vertical position and fell down into the cargo hold from a height of approximately 7 meters. Immediately after the incident, the Halifax hazmat team was called on scene and the vessel Atlantic Companion was evacuated. The hazmat team established a safe perimeter zone of 50 meters around the vessel. This precautionary measure was taken after the hazmat team measured 2 microsieverts per hour at 6 meters away from the packages. This level of radiation was normal for this type of package and consistent with the information contained on the shipping document. The level of radiation measured presented no danger for people working around the packages. Just to get a sense of perspective, standing 6 meters away from the packages for a period of 10 consecutive hours would result in a dose comparable to one received by a passenger flying across Canada. Shortly after, RSB Logistic, the licensee, was contacted and immediately implemented its emergency response assistance plan and dispatched its personnel to the site. Early on, after being notified by Canutech, CNSC transport experts provided initial assistance from our CNSC headquarters in Ottawa to the first responders and other people who were conducting the incident response on site. The next slides will provide an overview of how the recovery operations was conducted. So this slide shows the flat rack with the 4 packages that dropped approximately 7 meters, or 23 feet, back into the ship's cargo hold. As per the CNSC and international regulations, this package design has to withstand a drop of 9 meters, or 30 feet, in order to be certified. And the package was certified. Slide 15 shows again the flat rack as they dropped. So you can see the UF6 cylinders, which landed on top of another container that was beneath the container under the flat rack. And these show plastic tarps that are above that container. And you can see that the cylinders are still attached to the flat rack, and one end of the flat rack is still attached to the base. These pictures show the sheared side of the flat rack. So you can see on the left-hand side, the side of the flat rack still attached to the base, and you can see where it sheared off. And the other part was still attached to the crane bridge. This is a closer look at the sheared off side of the flat rack, which is still attached to the crane bridge. This is a picture of the sheared off side of the flat rack after its removal from the crane bridge. And you can see on the left the section that was sheared off. This is a picture of the anchor points on the flat rack, which are essentially female connectors, seen in the red circles. And you can see in the enlarged picture on the right-hand side that the connectors underwent extremely tensile deformation, as these were supporting all of the 18,000 kilogram of the weight being lifted. These are pictures of the anchor points underneath the crane bridge, as shown in the red circles. The anchor points are male connectors, which slide into the female connectors on top of the flat rack at each corner to secure the flat rack under the crane bridge in order to lift it. On March 14, the morning following the incident, the CNSC sent an inspector, Mr. Martin Thériault, to the Port of Halifax to provide CNSC regulatory oversight of the recovery operation and any potential cleanup activities. Upon arrival, the CNSC inspector boarded the vessel and took additional measurement. Following his assessment, the inspector confirmed that all of the 4 packages involved in the incident were intact and that there had been no release of UF6 from the packages. On Saturday morning, March 15, the emergency response team, under the guidance of the licensee, proceeded with the removal of the packages from the vessel and storage onto the docks. Once that was completed, the port terminal resumed normal operation. These are various pictures showing the packages that were being removed from the vessel and getting ready for storage onto the docks. From this incident, the CNSC observed that the regulatory system worked as expected. That is, the packages contained UF6 in a quantity not exceeding the quantity specified in the package design, as certified by CNSC and as per the CNSC license. RSB Logistic was duly licensed by the CNSC, and all the required transport placards and labels were in place on the containers and the flat rack. The packages withstood the drop without breach as per the package design certificate. The first responders took immediate action and contacted Canutech, who in turn promptly contacted the CNSC. The licensee also promptly contacted the CNSC as required by regulations. The licensee responded effectively in implementing its emergency response plan as per the license, and complied with regulatory requirements. In conclusion, the incident presented no risk to the workers, the public, and the environment. Radiation emitted from the packages remained at the expected level for normal transport for this type of package. It was perfectly safe to work around the packages. There were no breach of the packages. There were no spills of UF6. There were no security concerns, and there were no injuries. On Monday, March 24, 4 new UX-30 overpacks were sent to the port of Halifax to repackage the UF6 cylinders and move them to destination. On Tuesday, March 25, the packages involved in the incident were opened, and a visual examination of each cylinder was performed by specialists who had been dispatched on the site by the consignor and the consignee, including a representative of the American National Standards Institute, ANSI, as the cylinders are designed and manufactured according to ANSI N14.1. The cylinders were declared free of damage and were repackaged inside the overpacks. The packages were reloaded onto a new flat rack. At that point, the CNNC inspector was satisfied that all regulatory requirements were met in order for the packages to resume their transportation to the United States. In closing, RSB Logistic will be submitting a report on the incident to the CNSC by April 3, 2014. What we understand so far is that the incident is the result of one side of the flat rack not being properly secured to the crane bridge prior to lifting the flat rack. As mentioned before, this resulted in all of the 18,000 kilogram weight being supported by only one side of the flat rack, and this ended up in the unsecured side moving downward in a pendulum motion towards the vertical position and caused the attached side to shear off from the flat rack base. The cause and circumstances of the incident are still under review. We do not know at this time if the incident was the result of a mechanical failure, that is, a problem with the anchoring mechanism, or human error, that is, the operator not ensuring that the connectors were securely into their anchoring position. CNSC staff proposes to follow up with the Commission in writing in due course with any additional information that may become available regarding the cause and circumstances of the incident. Thank you very much.